Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. The Soroboreans DLC is finally released. This DLC has a lot of new content for the game, including a brand new zone, 2 new skill trainers, new mechanics, systems and more. In this video I'm going to give you some tips for this DLC and I'm going to explain these new mechanics as well. There are some light spoilers I guess, because I'll show the new zone obviously, but I won't spoil the main quest or anything major, so you shouldn't worry. Anyway, let's get straight to the tips. There are a couple of things you should know before you decide to start the DLC. But first, let's talk about how you can actually travel to the new zone. You can find the Soroborean Caravaneer in all cities in the game. You'll notice that he has some new dialogue options like I want to travel with you and what's it like working for Sorobor Academy. If you decide to travel with him to Hermatan, you'll need to have 200 silver and a couple of rations. Hermatan is the main city of Antique Plateau, which is the new zone that this DLC adds to the game. Every Soroborean Caravaneer in cities can take you to Hermatan for the same price. The second dialogue option triggers the pre-quest for the Soroboreans. In order to start it, you need to complete Call to Adventure quest first. This is basically the first quest that you get when you wake up in Chezo. You can still travel to Hermatan without completing this quest, but you won't be able to start the main quest of the Soroboreans. You can technically start the DLC zone as a new character once you acquire enough silver, but I definitely wouldn't recommend this. I'll show you soon why. The Soroborean Caravaneers that you can find in the open wilderness can take you to other major cities in the game. A lot of people wanted to have a fast travel option in Outward, so this is great news. Although I don't see the reason why the Caravaneers in cities can only take you to Hermatan, but there you go. Once you arrive in Hermatan, you're free to explore the city and the new zone. But before you start exploring, you should know how corruption works. While exploring different areas of Antique Plateau, you will encounter corruption. If you open your Vitals tab, you will notice that corruption has been added to needs. There are 3 levels of corruption. At 25%, you become tainted. You get a debuff that increases your hunger rate by 100% and your lightning resistance decreases by 25%. At 50%, you become corrupted. Besides a stronger debuff that you receive at this level of corruption, you get one buff as well. Your decay resistance increases by 15%, decay and frost damage also increases by 15%. The debuff stays the same, but instead of minus 25% lightning resistance, you get minus 50. At 75% of corruption, you become defiled. This is the final level of corruption. The debuff stays the same, but you get 2 more negative effects. Your physical and impact resistance is reduced by 30% and your attack speed is reduced by 10%. The buff you get increases your decay resistance by 15%, decay damage by a whopping 50% and frost damage by 15%. According to my test, you will need to stand around 4 minutes in a corrupted zone for each level of corruption. 12 minutes in total if you want to get defiled. This of course changes if you have any corrupted resistance effects on your gear, food or potions. There are a lot of new corruption related items that you can buy or find. The alchemist in Hermatan sells a couple of recipes for corruption resistance and corruption cleansing potions. You should definitely take the quartz potion recipe and gather the materials needed for a couple of flasks. This potion gives you 50% resistance to corruption and that's a huge boost. Sanctifier potion should be the next on your list because this potion decreases your corruption. Once you get infected with corruption, it will not go away when you sleep or pass the time. You will need to reduce it yourself with potions. And the last recipe from the alchemist that you should get is called Purity Potion. It's definitely the hardest to make but also the strongest. Upon use, it will cleanse 50 corruption. However, the cheapest way of getting 20% corruption resistance is to buy some food and food recipes. Cheesecake and fresh cream are pretty cheap, so you should always get them when you get the chance. You can get this food from the chef in Hermatan as well as the recipe for the fresh cream. Now, if you've been wondering about this crazy looking backpack, that's another smart way to get some corruption resistance. This backpack doesn't affect your dodging speed, it has 75 carry weight and it gives you 10% corruption. It's fairly easy to make, especially if you already have Scaled Satchel Backpack. I made a video about Scaled Satchel Backpack when Outward released, so if you need help with that, feel free to watch that video. Anyway, you will only need some Bozu's hide and Scaled Satchel Backpack in order to make Bozu's backpack. You can find these creatures near the pylon far to the south. They also have the chance to drop some Bozu's milk, the ingredient that you need for fresh cream, the item for corruption resistance that I mentioned before. Combining the backpack and fresh cream will give you a solid 30% corruption resistance, which means that you get a nice time boost when you're in a corrupted area. It's also important to mention that you don't necessarily need to run away from corruption, because the positive effects can be used for particular builds. But more about that in the next video. One of the biggest features in this DLC are two new skill trainers, the Speedster and Hexmage. They are both located in Hermatan. Just so you know, I will showcase all the new skills in a separate video, just like I did for vanilla trainers when the game came out. But besides these two new skill trainers, there are some slightly hidden spells that you can learn by talking to a couple of specific NPCs. The first one is called Haunt Hex, and when applied to the target, it increases all arterial damage that you do. Alchemist in Hermatan can teach you this spell for 50 silver. The second slightly hidden spell is Doom Hex. You can learn this new spell in Sorobor Academy in the library from the headmaster Raoul. It costs 50 silver as well, and it applies the lightning debuff to the target, which increases your lightning damage from all sources. The last slightly hidden spell that you can learn is a bit tricky because the NPC will ask one specific item in return. You will need to get one pure chitin from the Scourge Beast. I managed to get one by killing Pure Illuminator monster, but also in a random container next to the Alchemist. This was pure luck because the gear in these containers is mostly randomized. But hey, loot all containers. The actual skill that this guy can teach you is called Prismatic Flurry, and it only works with fist weapons. Fist weapons is a new weapon type that's added in the DLC, and this ability does an extra hit for each elemental boon active. Now you might remember that I told you not to come here as a brand new character, even if you manage to gather enough silver. The difficulty of this zone is quite high, and I would say it's slightly above the difficulty of Abrasar Desert, so you should be well prepared. There are new types of enemies that you will encounter, but there are plenty of old ones like the Beast and Sword Golems. Don't get me wrong, you don't need extremely good gear in order to handle most of this zone. I was doing fine with my Blue Sand armor set and Brutal Axe. But you should be prepared to gather enough materials in the new zone that are essential for traversing the dangerous areas of Antique Plateau. So once again, you shouldn't come here as a brand new character with no gear. Another huge feature of this new DLC is enchantment system. The process of enchanting your various gear is not that easy actually, and you will need a serious amount of silver to purchase all the stuff you need. The Alchemist in the Sorobor Academy can sell you all the items you need for enchanting. The main item is Enchantment Pedestal, then we have enchanting pillars that need to be placed around the enchantment pedestal, and we also need different materials for pedestals. I will make an in-depth guide for enchanting. This is just a tip for staying away from this until you have a lot of silver and a lot of patience. This system is definitely more for the endgame characters. The last two tips I want to share with you are kinda obvious, especially if you paid attention during some clips. Antique Plateau is the second zone in the game where it can snow, so be prepared for that as well. And the last tip is the ley line in Hermatan, specifically in Sorobor Academy. This is probably an easier way to unlock your mana if you didn't already, or tweak it a bit. It's located in the ley line chamber along with the Hexmage trainer. And that would be it for this video. I hope this will make your life a bit easier with this DLC, and I also have a couple of more videos coming, so stay tuned for that. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in Outward content, there's plenty of that to be found here. I've made a lot of guides and tips for this game in general, so if you just bought this game for the DLC, make sure to check those older videos. Don't forget to subscribe for more content and click on the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. Special thanks to my Patreons, and if you as well want to become one of them, all the links are in the description. Patreon is definitely the best place to directly support my work, and every contribution is highly appreciated. That would be all, and I'll see you in the next one.